It's the OCGFAM show. If it's a tea day, it's time to do the tea, but your plants feel hungry or deficient, what do? We got some ideas. Let's talk about it. That is good. Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? How's everybody doing out there? Comments. Let's talk about it. Let's get into the show. So the question today, or the clip I'm going to show you today, is kind of interesting, I think. We were talking to someone, we had a question in the viewer questions, and they said, hey, it's time for my tea day, but I feel like my plant's got some deficiencies. What do I do? And this brings up another question of, the plant's hungry. It needs to eat. My ppms are low, but it's a tea day. Should I go ahead and do my tea? Should I add some stuff to my tea? And I don't know that we came to any conclusions exactly in this clip, but we did talk about it. I think it's interesting. I think it might be helpful to your growth. So I'd like you to watch the clip, and I'll talk to you after.
All right. Okay. All right. K-Ghost 0311. Hey, Bob, question for Scott. I'm right at day 30 for flower and need to do a tea. Everything is looking great, but hungry for phosphorus, and it's tea day. I hate making teas and want an instant tea. Would SLF, Photo Plus, and Aphrodite's be a good thing to mix up for that? Thanks again for all the help. Why not just use the Photo Plus?
Well, SLF is a microbe too.
Yeah. So, but would if you were making a tea, would you just use Photo Plus, or would you add some stuff in there? And would you ever add any nectar product, nutrient, to that for the tea day?
I don't, only because I'm not trying to make a food tea, but I see what he's trying to do.
Yeah,
he
get that phosphorus.
Tea, but he wants the phosphorus available for the plant. So he wanted to add something in that will give it a little bit of that, or at least acclimate some.
Okay.
He'd be fine. The trick there, because he's not brewing it. Yeah. So I'm not worried about Aphrodite's being a food source for his microbes.
Okay.
It's going to be a food source for the plant still. But my trick there, my advice there would be put the Aphrodite's in, pH it to where you want the tea to be.
Okay.
Then add your SLF and Photo Plus to it, stir and go. That would be fine. I also, if I know they're hungry, I know my parts per million are low, or I know I have some action I need to take, I will skip a tea day and do a feed day over a tea day any day. Because, I mean, if there's no food, there's no point in putting the microbes in there to find more food that's not there. So right now I'm working with a guy in New Hampshire that he can't tea because he can't feed him enough. And if he teas, everything goes haywire because it depletes the parts per million, jacks his pH up through the roof because the only thing left to eat is limestone. So they're consuming all that and making his pH climb.
So, in whatever circumstance, why would I do a tea day over a flush day? Why wouldn't I just flush every couple days? What is the tea giving me that the flush isn't as far as getting that
efficient digestion in the soil? So anything that wasn't absorbed on the feed day is now built up in the soil and being utilized by microbes, and by adding those tea days in there, and really diverse tea days. What we're excited about with these new 2 micro products we're testing with a lot of these farms is they're colonizing in there. So we're not needing to reapply the same microbe, feed this microbe, feed flush, feed that microbe again, because that microbe is now colonizing well enough to where we can alternate our different types of teas, whether it's Photo Plus, primordial solutions, compost tea, the new Apollo, the new, whatever it may be. You can kind of alternate your microbes to keep these these very diverse colonies of different sources of microbes consuming the things in the soil.
If I'm not brewing my tea, but I'm just using Photo Plus, why wouldn't I flush every 3-4 days and just put my Photo Plus in every time I feed to get my microbes? Am I getting something from the tea other than diversity over a flush?
Yeah, you're getting more food released from the soil.
From the soil.
Releasing the soil, it's pushing it out, where a tea is feeding off the soil and releasing that to the plant. So you're getting the food on your tea days.
For an ultimately healthier soil and a more natural grow? Is that what you're saying with the tea? Does that make sense?
Pretty much. I mean, if you just feed, and you have microbes on top, there's still an excess of food. The plant
And I just flushed that out.
Microbes need a break from feeds so they can actually process all the stuff to make into food.
So this is part of the natural process of doing it, is why we do a day for the tea. But if I've got a situation here, I'm certainly not going to do that over feeding my plants. I'm not going to,
feeding plants, number one priority. Number two priority is giving the microbes in there to make sure that the food you've already given them is accessed and efficient. And number three is making sure the parts per million and pH are sound, and by the working flushes will kind of help keep those in check.
If I'm starving to death, I'm not going to go to the doctor to check on my yearly checkup. I'm going to eat some food.
It's probably a good start.
Okay, I got you. So, but the tea is part of a natural growing, or a more natural growing process, but it is certainly not something that you would do if you're got starving plants or you got deficiencies.
Oh, for sure. And I think originally how this all stemmed was so many people wanted to go, I want to feed once a week and then water. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to eat breakfast on Monday, but not again until Saturday dinner. Well, that doesn't work that way. They really want the food.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to encourage people is if you do more feeds, even if they're a little bit lighter, they're getting access to nutrition more frequently.
More consistently.
Well, the water day, because we don't believe in just water days.
Yeah.
And, to us, it's a waste. It's a missed opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
So the first water day is a tea day. So it's predominantly water. It has life organisms in there. There's no NPK value. There's no high parts per million to it, but all of those little guys you're putting into this tea enter in the soil and they break down the last two feedings and make that available to the plant as a food. So now we save money on not mixing up 17 parts because I'm a glutton and like to use that many. And now I'm just adding a couple teaspoons of life to a gallon of water and they colonize and eat everything. I've saved money on my feed and I'm still feeding. And then the same with the flush day is, need it or not, you do the bone meal flush in a sense. And again, this comes down to the microbes. If your parts per million in your soil are 225 parts per million, skip your flush day. Keep with a feed day because what are you flushing out? You're flushing out the last 225 in reserves so that there's none? No, keep that going as a regular feed. And our flushes are so that it's not a blank slate. It's not just water reducing the sodium in the soil. It's a calcium shot. It's a little bit of phosphorus, and it's accessing the excess salts that are built up in the soil and help them become too large to be absorbed immediately by the plant.
So feed tea, feed flush, not unlike the feeding chart, is a good starting point to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a guideline. It's not a set
It's a heck
stone.
of a guideline because if you do a feed, water, feed, water, feed, you're going to find that they look really good after feeding, but boy, they really lose their luster on the two waterings.
Shocking.
When I eat breakfast only, by afternoon I'm hangry as a mo, Frankie, and I'm not a nice guy.
Okay, what do you think of that? Informative, entertaining, helpful? Have you had that issue? How have you dealt with that issue? Do you think you got anything new from this clip? Let's talk about that. And also any questions you might have about this or any other topic, throw them in the comments and we'll get after it. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.